There you go. I forgot about the mic. Um, I want to thank everybody for attending today and for agreeing to participate in this working group. I think everybody in this room, I'm Senator Norm Needleman, and I'm going to give my co-chairs the opportunity to say a few words. And if any of the ranking members are on also, this is a joint effort with Energy and Environment because waste at this point traverses both committees. What we do with it at this point is burn a lot of it, although, excuse me, we're shipping quite a bit of it out of state right now. And I think both committees thought it was important that we address the fact that we've sort of backed into doing something that we hadn't planned on doing. I don't think that the plan 30 years ago or 20 years ago, as all the landfills in the state basically closed, was to ship our waste out of state. Um, for a number of reasons, a substantial amount of our waste is now going out of state. And I think we felt that it was important to revisit long-term our involvement, what our plan is for solid waste management for the next 20 years. And we're committed to trying to come through this with solid ideas. Nobody's going to get everything they want, but hopefully we can come out with a vision for what the future looks like for solid waste management in the state of Connecticut. For my part, not being an expert in this area, I'm not going to necessarily speak to which technology is better or worse. I've been getting information and some of it's conflicting with stuff that I've always believed, but bottom line is our goal is to investigate what the best technologies are. I think we're all on the page of wanting to reduce waste, divert waste, digest it if we can, recycle more, although we do a pretty good job of recycling in Connecticut. And then the decision about what to do with what's left is what we're really, going to focus on. But we're also going to focus on how do we reduce waste. And the Commissioner of DEEP, Commissioner Dykes, who is probably on this, will say a few words also. I think she's done a tremendous amount of work up to now. And I do want to say that as this evolved over the last few years, the industry has stepped up, and what we don't have is a crisis where there's garbage piling up on the side of the road. And so we're managing it. I just want to make sure that the future is that we manage it the best that we possibly can. So I'm going to conclude what I have to say with, again, a thank you to everybody who is participating. This will be hard work. There will be a short time frame to come up with legislation for next year, assuming the people on the committee that are elected get reelected. But we really want to address this. It's not the sexiest topic in the world, but it's a critical topic because human beings generate waste. How we deal with it matters when there are 8 billion people on the planet. And so with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Senator Cohn, who's the chair of the Environment, the Senate Chair of the Environment Committee. I believe that Representative Gresko, who's got a compressed time frame, is on via Zoom. So with that, I'm going to ask.
We turn it over to Joe since he has a short time.
Yeah, maybe we'll let Representative Gresko go first because he is on a time schedule that's constrained. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Senator. And with that being said, I echo everything you basically have said. I want to thank everyone for stepping up to help us address this issue. Hopefully we'll take this in pieces where there isn't going to be a magic bullet that's going to solve the problem all by itself. We're going to have to deal with some diversion. We're going to have to deal with some EPR. We're going to have to deal with getting a grasp of what actually happens to the garbage that we put away. Look, as I've said many times, there isn't a magic place that when you throw when the guy comes in front of your house and comes and gets your garbage, it doesn't magically disappear into somewhere that no one cares about. We have to care about it now, and we have the opportunity to take a bold step forward as far as helping the state possibly be on the cutting edge of some new technology, or at least taking care of our own waste, our own backyards, our own business going forward. So thank you, Senator Needleman. And I want to say hello to my Senate co-chair on the Environment Committee, Senator Cohen.
Thank you, Representative. Senator Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Gresco. And I too just want to echo some of the comments that have already been made. As Senate Chair of the Environment Committee, we've obviously spent the bulk of my short tenure, which is just the past 4 years, working on waste management issues, recognizing that there is indeed a crisis. When I came into the legislature, we were dealing with the MIRA shutdown, and now it is officially shut down. And what we were seeing at that time was extreme backlogs and figuring out how to manage our way through that. And luckily, with all the folks here today and some others coming to the table, we were able to get through that crisis. But here we are, one of our largest plants in the state has shut down. We are indeed going to be exporting trash to other landfills in other states, which we all know is less than ideal. So grateful that we are all coming together. I fully recognize that we've had task force like this in the past, and we haven't really gotten anywhere with this. So I think have a commitment, as does my co-chair here and my co-chair on environment, as well as Representative Ali Brennan, who is the co-chair on the Energy Committee for the purposes of this task force. And I think we all are extremely committed to seeing some real solutions come out of this, whether it be through anaerobic digestion, multi-stream recycling, talking about new landfill management, whatever the cases may be. And I just would ask that all of us be open-minded throughout this process and think about new ways to come at this, new technologies that might be available to us. What are other states doing? What are other countries doing? I think we really need to take a deep dive into this and figure out some solutions for the state of Connecticut so that we can go about this in an environmentally friendly way, go about this in a way that helps our energy situation as well. And work on this together so that everybody benefits. The people of Connecticut benefit from this, as well as our businesses across the state. So I'm looking forward to this process, grateful to be here, and really energized because I think we've got a good group of people here that are really going to put their heads together and come up with some real solutions. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I think I see on the Zoom call Representative Ali Brennan, who is has been the Vice Chair of the Energy Committee, and Representative Arconte is leaving the House. So I think he thought it would be best to leave it to somebody who's running again for office. So Representative Ali Brennan.
Thank you, Senator Newman. Yep, I'll be brief. I'm Representative Ali Brennan, the Vice Chair of the Energy Committee. Like Senator Newman, I am not an expert in waste management, but I do look forward to digging in, learning more about how we can help the environment, save taxpayers money and create, economic benefits in the state. And so with that, looking forward to what we discover here, and looking forward to working with everybody. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm going to run through a list to see if anybody else is on because my vision is not great here. Other elected officials, is Senator Minor on the call? He's the ranking member on the environment. Okay, I don't think he's on. Representative Harding. Nope, don't think he's on. Representative Formica. So ranking member on energy. Okay. Representative Ferraro, who's also the ranking member from the House on Energy. Okay, so there being no one else that's elected here, I did want to add a couple of comments. I think the plan in the moment, and it's a plan, is to break this down into subgroups that focus on energy and environment. And we've sort of broken down the list of people on the committee, on the working group, but there are other people. The bill that that we passed in the 11th hour, to say the least. We combined an energy and an environment bill. And I want to acknowledge that not everybody who has an interest in this topic is a member of this working group by appointment, but there are people who have enough experience that we want their input. So there are probably 5 or 6 people, and then there's going to be a lot of other interested parties. I know for a fact as a first selectman, every first selectman, mayor, town manager in the state is anxiously hanging on what we're trying to do here. So with that, I'm going to sort of go around the room, go through the list of people. We have a couple of other members of the state government here who have been very active in this sphere. And one of them is Commissioner Dykes from Commissioner of DEEP. Commissioner Dykes or somebody from DEEP on the line?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Nice to see you. Yeah.
Great to see you. Thank you so much, Senator Nealman, for convening us today. I know this is a topic that I know you've been very actively engaged in, and I've enjoyed, many of the conversations that we've had about this challenge over the last couple of years. And I also, it's great to have this task force co-convened with our environment chairs, Senator Cohen and Representative Gresko, who've been champions for a lot of important legislation in this area over the last couple of years. So DEEP is excited to be a part of this task force. I think it's a great venue for us to work in the off season with legislative leadership to help to identify the potential solutions that are out there. And so really eager to be part of it. I'll say, as it's relevant to the task at hand, I think since Governor Lamont took office, it's been clear that the Mira facility was struggling. And while we are at this juncture relying on other communities outside of the state to accept our waste, my hope is that the outcomes from this task force will help us to make that period of time of reliance on out-of-state landfilling as brief as possible. DEEP has been, really appreciative of legislative support for a number of critical reforms and tools over the years. Importantly, the legislature has provided $10 million over 2 budget cycles in surplus for sustainable materials management grant programs. And we're in the process of working with 14 municipalities to help implement pilots supported by those dollars. We're also in discussion with some municipalities about regional waste authorities and the extent to which we can provide some technical assistance for municipalities that are interested in working together or either joining existing or creating new regional waste authorities. We're also contemplating some work around a request for information that could possibly lead to an RFP for new infrastructure. DEEP has authority to procure long-term contracts for energy and RECs for anaerobic digesters, we've appreciated having the opportunity to speak to, I believe, every cog in the state over the last 2-3 months to talk about the possibility of collaborating in that space. And of course, we're also hard at work on bottle bill modernization, a key piece of legislation from the 2 years ago, that session. Pleased to see EPR for gas cylinders move forward. And of course, we're also, we've revamped and revived a lot of the work of the CCSMM, the Connecticut Coalition for Sustainable Materials Management, which has over 95 municipalities in it to date, including, I think, some of the municipal members who are part of the task force today. So anyway, eager to be a part of the conversation and to listen to the topics that will be coming up. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for all the hard work you've done behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, trying to at least create a framework for the waste reduction, waste diversion part of this process. I happen to agree with you that I do not believe that if any landfilling is part of the future, that it should be out of state. I believe we should manage our own waste in Connecticut to the extent that is practically possible. Next up, I'm going to ask a representative from the OPM secretary. I think it's Rebecca Auger.
That's right. Thank you. Rebecca Auger. I'm in the Intergovernmental Policy and Planning Division with OPM. I am sitting in on behalf of the secretary, and we do a lot of work with COGS and very interested in regional solutions to some of these issues, and just happy to be here and eager to hear what you all have to say.
Thank you so much. And next up is the chairperson of PURA, Commissioner Gillette. Are you on?
I am. Good afternoon, Senator. As the Senator mentioned, my name is Marissa Gillette. I am the chair of the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority. And I suppose I'm here mostly because the legislation requires me to be. So I'm looking forward to the conversation and happy to help or contribute in any way that I can. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's absolute honesty there. I like that. We need that here. Next on the list is Brian Paganini from Quantum, who has experience with a anaerobic digesting business. And just, I think I'd like everybody else to talk for a couple of minutes about what they're doing, what their experience is, what their background is, so that anybody who's listening gets an understanding of what their involvement in this world will be.
Thank you, Senator Needleman and chairs of the committee. My name is Brian Paganini. I'm the Vice President of Quantum Biopower. We operate an anaerobic digester in Southington, Connecticut. This is our 5th year of operation. Our facility processes roughly 40,000 tons of food waste separated from grocers and hotels and facilities that just make a lot of food waste. And we turn that food waste into roughly 400,000 cubic feet of biogas per day. Our biogas is renewable biogas. We can use that biogas as a fuel to power a combined heat and power system, making about a megawatt of power, enough electricity for 700 households here in the state of Connecticut. As I stated, we're in our 5th year of operation. So by default, we are the de facto quote unquote experts in the state of Connecticut, having operating this facility now for this amount of time. Prior to us building this facility, we spent about 3 years of diligence, literally traveling the world and examining waste systems in other parts of the world, the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Denmark, and just looking at the ways other folks conducted their waste management practices, and helped to evaluate what type of technological platform we felt was going to be best fitting for the management of food waste, for what we felt was the precipice of this diversion mindset, segregating food waste out of the waste stream. So we bring obviously experience around anaerobic digestion, but also a pretty deep experience and knowledge around operating in and seeing some of the waste systems in other parts of the world that I think would lend favorably to this conversation. So we deeply appreciate being part of this. So personally, thank you for having us be part of this task force.
Thank you, Brian. And somebody who's not at all new to the building, but I don't know if he's ever sat in one of these seats before, Dave Stuber, who used to work for the Senate and now is the Chief of Staff for the Mayor of Hartford.
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you, and a distinctly odd and unique pleasure to be able to sit in one of these seats after many years sitting on the sidelines. As the Senator said, I'm currently serve as the Chief of Staff to City of Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin. Additionally, I was appointed earlier this calendar year to sit on the board of directors for the Material Innovation and Recycling Authority, which is the entity that owns the incineration plant that was just closed here in Hartford just weeks ago, actually. In addition to that, as the Senator alluded to, I previously served here in this building as a policy analyst assigned to both the Energy and Environment Committees of the General Assembly. So it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. very much looking forward to digging into all these issues. There are a large number, I think, of interconnected and interrelated topics for us to take a look at here. So I'm very pleased to be here and glad to be working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Don Stein, who's been a longtime board member and president of the board of MIRA. I think he's the first selectman of Barkhamsted. Don, are you there?
Yeah, Mayor Norm, thank you very much. No, I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this group. I appreciate the expertise and the interest from the various representatives, Commissioner Dykes. So I'm first selectman of Barkhamsted also. I've been on the MIRA board for about 12 years. I've been chairman for 11. So I rode the roller coaster from CRA to MIRA, and I'm really hopeful that this committee will put together a strategic plan that the state can implement to keep the waste from going out of state and to optimize the use of solid waste for energy and other good environmental purposes and minimize the amount that is disposed of. So I do appreciate the opportunity to participate.
Thank you so much, Don. And I'm not exactly sure where everyone else is from, but Seth Baylor.
Hi, I'm Seth Baylor. I'm with Oak Ridge Dairy. Thank you for the opportunity to have a seat at the table. I'm the farmer at this table, so I think farmers bring a really good perspective of how to keep things simple. And we operate a 3,000 cow dairy and then also farm a couple thousand acres of land in Connecticut. And we also are in the process of building a methane digester at this time. Hopefully it will be operational by November this year, which will be taking our cow manure and turning it into renewable natural gas. So that should be operational. We do also handle a lot of solid waste, cow manure. So hopefully I can provide some input on this topic.
Thank you so much, Seth.
I just wanted to say, Seth, you're not alone because my appointee is Joan Nichols, who we'll hear from soon, who is the director of the Connecticut Farm Bureau. So farmers at the table.
Excellent, Senator. James Cosgrove, who's the first selectman, I guess, of Branford, and also a member of the Bristol Resource Recovery Board.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Needleman. I appreciate the opportunity to participate on this committee. This issue has been a concern of mine since first taking office in 2013. As mentioned, Branford is a member of the Bristol Resource Facility formerly operating committee, now policy board, of which I am currently chair. So I look forward to participating. And as you pointed out, Senator Needleman, this is of concern, I'm sure, to many first selectmen and mayors across the state. So I look forward to representing the municipality's interest as well as we develop a plan for, as the statute points, short-term and long-term. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, I see that Senator Formica joined the call. So Senator Formica, I'd like you to have the opportunity to say a few words if you'd like.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate the opportunity to get on. This group is a long time coming and somewhat overdue, in my view, to really get all the players around the table to come up with a solution that works once these trashed energy plants became less than profitable. So, we have to do some outside the box thinking, and we have to do some collaboration, and we have to do it relatively quickly in order to try to get something done in the next few years, as infrastructure takes some time to, once determined, to be implemented. So I look forward to having everybody pushing in the right direction. It's nice to see Don Stein still banging away after all these years. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I agree with the banging part. And thank you, Senator Formica. Next, we have Mark Van Wielden. I think that he's from Wheelabrator, but Wheelabrator is not called Wheelabrator anymore.
Sorry, Senator. No, I'm from Covanta.
Oh, Covanta. Okay, sorry about that. All right, got that backwards.
Yeah, Mark Van Welden, thank you very much, senators, and really appreciate the opportunity to be here before you. And it is our hope that, that there'll be something tangible that comes out of this as well. So Mark Van Welden, Area Asset Manager for the state of Connecticut for Covanta. As most of you know, we operate 2 state line facilities, one in Bristol that serves to be our FOC, our policy board now, and Preston. Process 480,000 tons. And obviously, you know, from a power standpoint, we're not a big player, but we are a player, roughly 30 megawatts per hour, 24/7, 365. So more to come on that, I'm sure, but I'm with Covanta.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. They're a good company too. So.
Absolutely. Next, Joan Nichols representing the Farm Bureau.
Good afternoon, Senator. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Joan Nichols. I'm the Executive Director, Connecticut Farm Bureau Association. We appreciate a seat at the table. Thank you, Senator Cohen, for the appointment. As you've heard from Seth Baylor, we have 2 other on-farm digesters, one up at Fort Hill Farms and another one at the Freund Farm. And we appreciate the legislature working with us and our farmers the last few years to allow more robust on-farm anaerobic digester programs. We feel that farms can certainly be part of the solution to this problem we're discussing, and I welcome the opportunity to work with you all. Thank you. And Seth, nice to see you.
Thank you, Joan. Next up is Frank Antonacci. I'm one of the owners of All Waste.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you to the chairs and the legislature for facilitating this discussion, which I think is going to be very fruitful with your guidance and leadership. I'm Frank M. Antonacci, Chief Operating Officer for Murphy Road Recycling. We operate many facilities throughout the state of Connecticut that manage waste and process recyclables. We believe that we represent a very integral industry throughout the state and the region to handle these materials. We believe we bring a deep experience and proven track record, not only in the state, but the region, and are nationally recognized as leaders for bringing innovative, reliable, and scalable solutions to these issues, which I think is something to keep in mind, that these are issues that need scalable solutions. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you and your expertise to evaluate what our current situation is in the state and to evaluate what the gaps potentially are and what our strengths are as well. The last thing we want to do is to do harm to the strengths that we have as a state. So let's look for our opportunities and work together on solving those, and while doing no harm to our strengths. So I look forward to the opportunity of working with all of you.
Thank you, Frank. Next up is Jason Manafort.
Thank you, Senator. Jason Manafort. I'm the owner of CWPM, which is a private waste hauling company here in Connecticut. We are currently actually operator of several MIRA facilities and formerly CRA. So we've watched everything unfold here firsthand for the last 20 years. We service thousands of residential, commercial, and municipal customers for waste removal. We also own and operate our own facilities throughout the state. We look forward to working with everybody to help find some solutions here for disposal, because it's definitely a problem that we need to figure out here pretty quick. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. And I do want to say that a lot of the success of what the state does is based on the private industry that services the state and the towns. And I agree that we don't want to do any harm. So we want to get better. We want to get back on track. We want to be a leader. And I think that that was the intent when CRA was created. We created legislation and created a quasi-public. However we go, whether we have another quasi-public involved, whether we burn, whether we bury, I think that most people here are on the page of, at some point, we don't want to be shipping out of state. Whatever we choose to do, sending it to other states just feels not correct. My friend Senator Cohen had a couple more remarks that she wanted to make.
Thank you, Senator. And I just wanted to say, you know, I think it's not lost on us that there is a limited number of appointments as laid out through the legislation, but we recognize that there are a myriad of experts on this subject, and we want to make sure that all voices are heard. So throughout this process, I hope that, you know, these meetings will be fully noticed, and I hope that others will come to the table, even if they are not appointed to the working group specifically, because there are folks throughout the state that are experts in recycling as well, other experts in anaerobic digestion. And we want those voices to be heard as well as municipal leaders. You know, I know Jamie Cosgrove represents a community in my district, but, you know, we hear from CEOs of towns all the time, and a lot of them are experiencing different issues than others, and we want to hear from them as well. So I just want folks to know that our intention is to have this working group be an open process whereby people can provide input to all of us, and we can take that under advisement and consideration. So this is just sort of a call out to the public to get involved, whether you're just a taxpayer in Connecticut with some really good ideas when it comes to waste management, or, you know, you've got some concerns you want to let us know about, or you're an expert in a particular field, you're an environmentalist, whatever it is, please make your voices heard, and make sure that you attend these meetings. That, like I said, they will be noticed, and we hope to have your participation as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cohen, and I couldn't have said it any better. We pulled this bill together at the 11th hour, and the list of people who are interested in this topic is not, you know, the appointees are not all-inclusive list, and we want to hear from other people. We want their expertise. And with that, at least the initial thought is to break this down into subgroups. They'll all have to be noticed, but the subgroups should be diversion, reduce, reuse, recycle. So defining the best technology, following through, creating legislation around that. How best do we manage that part of our waste stream? And I think that Representative Gresco and Senator Cohen, along with the ranking members of environment, will be sort of focused on that. The people that I had on that list were Senator Cohen, Representative Gresco, Representative Ollie Brennan, Senator Minor, Representative Harding, Commissioner Dykes, Rebecca Auger, James Cosgrove, Joan Nichols, Seth Baller, Brian Paganini. Next group would be combustion, gasification, pyrolyzation, landfill gas recovery, and facility location. Representative Gresco, Senator Formica, and we will pass this out, by the way, so you don't have to write this all down. Don Stein, Dave Stuber, Frank Antonacci, Jason Manafort, Mark Van Wielden, Brian Paganini, other people who have stepped forward who have a lot of experience, Anthony Farina and Jeff Martiriano. And then the energy recovery component, which will be Commissioner Dykes, Chairwoman Gillette, myself, Senator Formica, Representative Ferraro, and Dave Stuber. So I think we put Dave on every one of these working groups. Truth be told, Dave's a new dad. Congratulations. He is taking out time to do this work because he believes in it. And having worked with him for 2 years, I believe he's got a lot of expertise across the platform of what we want to do, as does everyone else here. I'm, again, high-level goals here. Don't want to ship trash out of state. Not going to get there overnight. What is the realistic timeline? What is the best technology that we should be using? You know, I've just assumed that burning whatever's left is the right approach. I received a lot of information recently, more than I could read between when I got it and now, that landfilling, advanced landfilling, new landfilling may be an alternative. And if we're going to go that approach, my feeling is it shouldn't be out of state. We should figure out how to do that in Connecticut. It's not fair. We spend a lot of time looking at our environmental justice communities. Obviously, Hartford has borne the brunt of a lot of traffic and a plant on what they perceive to be very valuable property. The residents of Hartford have breathed the air and have dealt with all the environmental impact. But sending our trash to another state, which probably also a low income or a lower income community, is not necessarily what I think is the best approach. And what are the best tech options? Burn it, bury it, ship it, send it to the moon. I've said that before in that way. New York, where I grew up, used to just take it out in the ocean and dump it. None of those are good options anymore. So as I see it, it's burn it or bury it. And after you reduce it, I think we want to, at least as far as I know at this point, get more and more diversion and better recycling over time. I think that that's going to be a goal. I believe that if we were to ever build another burn plant, or if the existing burn plant operators in the state had the capacity to increase their capacity, in addition to that, build additional digesters on site. And the ideal solution here is digestion at the site of burning, so that we don't have to have haulers pull garbage to multiple sites, and reduce the amount of trucks on the road that are moving garbage around. Hope, I think, eventually is that they may be electrified, although that may be more complicated than people think. I also think that there's a possibility that if we generate gas from digestion and we collect it, and the trucks that are on the road can use gas, that's a better option, I think, for the environmental community than injecting it into the pipeline. But short term, I don't see any option but injecting it into the pipeline. Also, the extended producer responsibility and better recycling. I think the environment folks are going to really focus on that. I know that Representative Gresko did a lot of work on that last year with Senator Cohen. And on the energy side of this, what do we want to come out with? How do we value the energy? I have felt for a while that not valuing the energy has created a burden on the burn plants. And I think that that's been a part of the problem with MIRA, that not, I'm a first selectman also, and I also own a business that generates a lot of waste. And I do understand in the business world that you need predictability. You need predictability of income and cost. And in this business, there's not a lot of variables, right? If you're valuing the energy too low, the tipping fees are going to go up. Cost of operation can only get so efficient. So I think that part of the problem, not the only problem with MIRA, was not valuing the energy. Those on the board, I was for a very short amount of time on the board, those on the board would tell you that their world changed at MIRA, and I'm sure at Covanta and Wheelabrator, when the value of the energy that they were generating and selling went from 10 or 12 cents down to 2 cents. And they were in long-term contracts. The haulers, MIRA, I know, was in a long-term contract for tipping fees. So the one goes up, one goes down. You can't have one go down and the other stay flat. Eventually businesses go out of business. They just don't invest in capital. And I think that's part of what happened here. So valuing the energy, I think, is critical. I saw that Florida, which has taken a lead in resource recovery, has now done power purchase agreements for the value of the energy, be it electricity generated or gas. So I think that that's something that we need to think about. And then is there a possibility? Do we want to locate another plant? And who'd be willing to do it? And what incentives do you have to give a municipality to take this on? Because I don't think that the way the incentive structure was done in 1982 was adequate. As a regional mirror collection site, I feel when I became first selectman in 2011, first thing I looked at was those contracts. And I felt that the town of Essex took an undue burden on to collect trash or have trash collected and brought to our town on our property for $12,000 or $15,000 a year. It just didn't make any sense. So for a municipality to take on this work, putting my first selectman hat on here, it's got to make it worthwhile. So if we're going to locate another plant somewhere, and I think that that could be in the cards unless the existing players want to step up, then I think we need to incentivize the municipality that's willing to do that. So, and I think with that, we'll send out some notes. I think I've asked Chairwoman Gillette to work on chairing the energy part of this, figuring out what an appropriate value for this is. The environment chairs will chair the working group on the diversion, and again, suggestions here are welcome. Nothing is carved in stone. This is a kickoff meeting of a working group, and I think those of us that are elected and have to come up with solutions and legislation cannot do that in a vacuum. Everybody in this group and many people out there who are not on the group, your opinions matter. And we don't want to let perfect be the enemy of the good here. We want to solve this problem. We want to come up with a solution that makes sense for the next 20 years, that takes climate change, cost, and other environmental impacts into consideration. And with that, I'm going to ask if anyone else has anything that they would like to add. This is meant to be more of a conversation. This is not a committee meeting, so don't all jump in.
Do you guys have, or you talk about removing or not shipping it out of state? Do you have facts and figures of how much is being diverted and what are, I guess, what we're up against of how much food waste is being produced and how, or waste is being produced, and could that be sent out in the packet afterwards? Or?
So we're getting all that information. I believe that the last number I heard about what's being diverted out of state is about a million tons. Folks that are more involved in that can speak up on that. And the digestible, if you took the theoretical digestible amount of waste from the, the waste stream that people and businesses generate, not farms, we've been told it's up to 25, maybe 30%. Practically speaking, we'll not get that much out. It's just not possible. We were eating lunch and had sandwiches and, those clamshells that you buy your food lunch in, some of them you could just recycle. Some of them you have to wash, right, before you can put it in the recycle stream. Otherwise, it's not going to be recyclable easily. So changing people's habits, which I think is a big part of what Commissioner Dykes is going to use that money for, to incentivize things, is going to be critical here. But we're never going to be 100%. 40 years into recycling, we're not 100% active. We don't get 100% of the recyclables out. So the numbers are sort of theoretical and practical. But all I know is that we're shipping too much out of state right now. And my good friend, Senator Formica, at one point when we were talking about this, said, how many trucks and rail cars of garbage leaving the state of Connecticut, how many Teslas do you have to put on the road to equal that impact? And it's a lot. So we're looking to improve, not get perfect, and do it over time. We don't want to do anything onerous. And again, whether it's the electric ratepayer or the resident who has their trash picked up or the business that has to dispose of waste, an eye on cost is critical, and an eye on equity here is critical. We don't want to put plans into effect that impact those that can least afford to do things disproportionately. It's very different if you live in a house on an acre of land and you can compost your own stuff, or you can segregate your food waste, versus living in a 10-story apartment building with 60 apartments in it. There's not a lot of room to do that kind of stuff. So we want to be practical, but we want to get to the other side of this and be as environmentally friendly as we can. So Senator Cohen, do you have anything else? Representative Gresco, Senator Formica. Sorry to use your quote about the Teslas.
Senator, I have
Yeah.
a question on just procedure. So you've broken up this into subgroups and you've invited members of the public that have a vested interest as well. Those of us that have been appointed, if we have resident experts in those subgroups, can we bring those as well?
Right. I don't see why not. I think that depending on how those chairs choose to get those working groups together, now that people can Zoom in, you don't need to put 100 people in a room. But I leave it up to my good chairs on the Environment Committee to work on that part of it. But we want the best opinions possible here. We really want to bring the best minds to bear on solving this problem. And in the design of the legislation, we didn't give ourselves a lot of time. We didn't give ourselves a lot of money. So the people that you're seeing in this room are going to be doing the work. We want to get as much done by this year. And if we have to extend this working group for another year into coming up with additional steps, we'll do that. But yes, I'm fine with other experts involved, as long as we don't break the bank on how much time people are going to spend on this.
Very well.
Yeah, Frank.
I think to dovetail off of Mark's question, I believe as some of the industry representatives and experts at the peril of volunteering for too much, I would welcome the opportunity to serve on multiple committees. Is that or subgroups? Is that something that would be welcomed or? Okay.
Absolutely. I don't see any reason why people wouldn't. You know, the breakdown of the actual people in the working group is fluid. And, you know, we want other people's inputs, and you can direct it to Senator Cohen or myself or Representative Gresco and our clerk and my legislative aide who's here, Nate Spencer, and Valentina, who's pulled this together very quickly, considering that 2 weeks ago, she wasn't the energy clerk. So
We very actively invest and seek out diversion technologies. So I think that would be a good place for me to serve as well, if you would so allow. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Frank. Anyone else? Yeah.
Thank you, Senator. So in the mode of defining what success might look like for the outset of our engagement here, you know, typically in our worlds, we're used to getting in a room, in a conference room, talking, sometimes yelling at each other, and walking out of that room with some good, clear determinations on what we've accomplished. Could you share with us a little bit of your vision about how you think we may memorialize some of what we arrive to as far as conclusions? Because what I'm hearing is it sounds like we're going to make some regulatory recommendations, obviously some technological recommendations, all in the mode of helping achieve this goal of obviously diverting less out of state and processing more in state. So is there a memorandum of sorts or a report that we're hoping to generate here out of this group, or is it just a series of recommendations sort of generated through our working group sessions? A little bit of definition would be great.
Sure. I don't think we gave ourselves enough staff to do all the work that's necessary here. So I'm not sure that we're going to come up with a comprehensive report. If you look at the hydrogen task force, it's being run by the Green Bank, and they've played an active role in organizing that. This is run by legislators with the legislative staff without a huge budget. So I think that, more practically speaking, we want a series of recommendations as opposed to a 50-page report. And yelling at each other is perfectly fine. Just don't hit anybody. So,
Yeah, I
No,
think some of the recommendations will likely require, you know, the legislature to deliberate over them and decide, you know, perhaps have public hearings and go through the entire legislative process. In some cases, it may be municipal recommendations, you know, things that can be done at the municipal level. In some cases, it may be, you know, some changes made within DEP, communications, things of that nature. So, you know, some of these things, you know, we'll have to sort of break apart as we go through that sort of recommendation process. And, you know, perhaps there's a set of legislative recommendations, perhaps there's a set of recommendations that can be done outside the legislature and be acted upon. So, and you know, maybe that's disseminated through COGS or what have you. So we can have those discussions as we move forward, what that looks like. But I think that's sort of what our vision is.
And one other thing, you know, there are forks in the road here, right? One of the forks in the road is burn or not to burn, right? Another fork in the road is, if there's another burn plant, should it be a quasi-public or should it be done by the private industry? What would it take for private businesses to make the investment necessary to do that? The permitting, you know, this is where certainty of tipping fees and certainty of energy value becomes critical for anybody to make an investment that's a 20-year return. You know, there's no short way around building a new plant to handle waste. I think Frank has done a new plant to handle recyclables, and you know, in the uncertain world of valuation of that stuff, it's a very difficult thing for a business to make that kind of investment. If we want a purely private sector solution here, then you cannot expect a private sector solution without some certainty, because speaking as a municipal CEO, I don't want every load of garbage that's picked up from my transfer station to be valued differently, right? I don't want to every 6 months have to worry about the cost, because today the energy was valued here, tomorrow the energy is valued here. It just doesn't work from a business person point of view to make an investment. I personally believe that on the burn side, if that's the way we want to go, that a quasi-public is not a bad approach, not a pure private sector approach, because that can be a vehicle to lead in technological, you know, ways. However, we know that that doesn't always work. And I know that the commissioner and the governor were not prepared to spend $400 million to rebuild the Mira plant. I never thought that that was necessarily the best approach either. And I know my good friends in Hartford definitely did not think that that was the best approach. So, you know, there's an element of trying to thread a needle here. But I'm not married to my solution, you know, which might be a quasi-public with some certainty, you know, some towns participating, some certainty of tipping fees, and some certainty in the value of the energy. That may make a you know, quasi-public plan a little bit more viable with a lot less of investment from the state of Connecticut. But in order to do that, we need a location, right? And that becomes another challenge. So no matter who builds it, it's going to be a challenge. I think the best hope short term for more burn capacity is on the sites that exist in the state right now. They're not necessarily located in an ideal way for transportation purposes. And again, transportation of waste matters. It's a lot of impact to drive all around to go 100 miles to a burn plant. And I do know that a lot of investment has been made short term, and I thank you for that, in rail cars, because the prospect of, you know, tractor trailers driving out to Pennsylvania versus rail cars going out to Pennsylvania, I'd much rather see rail cars go out to Pennsylvania. But, you know, if we're going to transition out of that, there's got to be an acknowledgement that businesses have made a significant investment in managing what has been, in my opinion, not the state's shining moment here. So this is a long-term issue that we need a long-term solution on, and we need to respect every party that's involved in it. Anybody got their hands raised on Zoom? Okay, with that, I think we'll send out times for the next meeting. I think Senator Famika may have lost the connection. Are you back? No. Okay, so with that, I want to thank you. The way I see this, A lot of work in a short amount of time. Obviously, those of us that are elected are campaigning. I think this group should meet once in September, the larger group, once in October, twice in November, twice in December, which gets a little dicey. The working groups can meet as often as they want. They can break down into subgroups. Short window, a lot of work. We don't have to solve everything all at once, but what I would like is a vision for where we want to go.
Sorry, that was a great wrap up. So I hate to.
No.
I just legally, I think we do we have LCO here? I want to make sure, I think we have to have the subgroup meetings noticed as well. I'm not sure, but I think we have to work through maybe the clerks and LCO to make sure that it's all done properly.
Yeah, so Jack, I saw you pop up for a second. Can you give us a little guidance on that? Noticing versus recording. I don't think we need to record, but I do think we need to notice. If the Transfer Act Working Group was any model for this, but Jack, you got an opinion on it?
My opinion is we will follow up with your staff.
So I think we should follow up about the subgroup thing. So I also want to check in with the environment LCO, but I do think that any subgroup should be noticed.
Not necessarily recorded, but noticed with minutes being taken at the subgroup.
Yeah, I think the statutory task force needs to be treated like, like a public hearing with notice. The subgroups, I think I'll follow up, but I think we would probably also want it to be noticed.
I think you have to be very close to the microphone, especially with the mask on.
Yeah, so for the main task force, it should definitely be noticed. And I will follow up about the subgroups, but I think it should also be most likely also be noticed.
We will have the clerks send out some guidelines with your help, if that's okay, when you do the research.
Yep.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, does anybody else have anything? It's a great meeting today. Thank you all. Appreciate everybody's involvement, and everybody online and all the other people who are interested in this. It's not the sexiest work in the legislature, but it's really important that we get this on track. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.